It's the Auburn Observer Podcast, game recap edition. Happy Sunday to all of you out there. Justin Ferguson joined, as usual, by my co-pilot, Dan Beck. Hello, Daniel.
Ahoy, Justin. It's great to see you, and it's great to be back in the Wings 94.3 studio, Wings 94.3, your home for classic hits in the Auburn, Opelika area. Also, your home for Auburn University athletics, football, men's basketball, baseball, Tiger Talk, all on Wings 94.3. You can also catch Auburn high school football on Wings 94.3 in the Auburn, Opelika area. Plus classic hits, like I mentioned, some great stuff. They got some Van Halen, some Leonard Skinner, some Def Leppard coming up. So, make sure you're tuned into Wings 94.3 whenever you can, and we really appreciate that they let us use the studio.
Yeah, makes us sound a whole lot better. That's for sure. And we really, really appreciate our friends at Wings.
No smarter, but better.
Yeah. It's
clearer.
Clearer. The quality of the recording is better. The quality of the product might not improve. But that's not their fault. That's
just a shiny package.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we are here to break down Auburn, South Alabama, Week 3 victory for the Tigers. And an interesting one because of the vibes coming out of it, I would say. Auburn 31, South Alabama 15. Dan, before we get into our 4 on each side, generally, what's kind of your feeling about Auburn coming out of this game? Because I think I've seen a lot of different takes from this one from the fan base, and I think a lot of them are very much validated.
Yeah, I would say that by and large, a 3-0 start where you've scored 30+ points in all three of them, and a game where you're able to at least have a safe distance from South Alabama entirely. Like I would say, like by and large, most of this is going well. But there do seem to be some problem areas and some areas where, with a really tough multiple game stretch. I mean, you don't really have to project beyond Oklahoma, right? With a really tough matchup in Norman on Saturday. Yeah, I think there are some areas of concern that stand out, and I understand why folks are worried about how those aspects are going to hold up against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game to beat South Alabama by 16. Look, first off, they won the game, and that can't be overlooked. It can't be, you can't gloss over that entirely, because we have seen in situations like this where Auburn's in a much more of a dogfight against a team from a group of 5 conference.
And I don't want to overpromise. I want to do like a Don King like promoting here. But I came away impressed with a lot of South Alabama's team, too. Like, I'm curious. I want to see how that looks when they get into Sun Belt play. But I think South Alabama's pretty good mid-major. Like, I think that's
they're solid. I think they're a solid team. I'll be interested to see kind of what they do moving forward. But they have some things that were tricky on offense, like we thought were going to be coming in. But even still, it felt like Auburn could have done more in this game. And I think that's the thing is that the final game, the final tune-up before you hit SEC play, you come away from this game thinking that Auburn did not play to their standard. They did not play anywhere near their best. This was a C effort game, B- at best maybe for Auburn, and it was enough to win. But when you look at the next 3 games,
you caught a couple of breaks. As far as to keep that lead where it needs to be. Right, like Auburn caught a couple. I mean, the turnovers by South Alabama, it was. I mean, when South Alabama had the ball, first thing Freeze wants to talk about is getting Auburn's defense off the field. Right, like South Alabama. They were able to. It felt like they were able to sustain things on offense more than folks expected in this game. Right, you would have thought maybe Auburn can force some 3-and-outs and some quick South Alabama possessions and dictate more of what happens in this game. It's not really what happened.
No, it was not. It's not what happened in this game. And I think you're about to hit a stretch here for Auburn, where the next 3 games you play, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia, by far, clearly much better than the teams we've just seen. Oklahoma's firing on all cylinders right now, especially on the offensive side. Texas A&M coming off a huge win over Notre Dame on the road. We'll talk about that. And then Georgia winning in very un-Georgia fashion away from home at Tennessee. And so you're about to hit this stretch where I think Hugh Freeze said it best after the game. He was speaking specifically about the defense, but Dan, he said, look, the way we've played, and I'm paraphrasing here, it's like the way we played against South Alabama will not beat the teams they have to play coming up. Because after Georgia, you've got Missouri, who is looking pretty good. Arkansas gave a heck of a fight to Ole Miss, especially on the offensive side. Kentucky still looks like the weak link there, but they are 2-1. They did look a little better yesterday. Vandy's playing really well, and then Alabama, I think, is going to kind of hit their stride again after. I think the deeper we get in the season, I wouldn't be surprised if that Week 1 loss to Alabama. Now they could still have issues, but I would not be surprised if the deeper we get into the season, we look at Alabama as like, okay, Week 1 they got Gus Malzahn, they got Gus bust and punched in the mouth, and they needed to have some time to recover and didn't play well, but this is still a really good football team.
Yeah, I think the SEC slate is daunting. I think that a lot of teams in the country are looking at real. I mean, most of Auburn's SEC opponents are ranked, including the next 4 that they're going to face. Vanderbilt should be in the top 25. We record this. We record this before the new poll has been revealed, but I mean, there's a chance 6 of Auburn's 8 SEC games are against ranked opponents. Everyone but Kentucky and Arkansas could be in the top 25. So, I mean, I get the good news is you don't have to try to beat SEC teams with the effort you just gave against South Alabama. Mm-hmm. That game is in a vacuum, and while you would have liked to see more style points, or you'd probably like to see more certainty about different parts of the team, or at least less, fewer glaring question marks. At the same time, you look and again, maybe this is, the bar's too low, but Hugh Freeze had lost 4 different games as a double-digit favorite at home as Auburn head coach. Yeah. And so, when you yes, you would have liked a game that was more comfortable throughout, but
and I don't think it ever got real tense.
It didn't get it did, but I think that's exactly right. Is that while you would have maybe
the way Auburn's playing to start the season, and sorry to cut you off there, but the way the Auburn has played to start the season, I think on offense and to a degree on defense, it's a very game control heavy kind of play. The way that they are steadily moving the ball on offense, and they've got this bend don't break aspect at times. Now there was some breaking obviously Saturday against South Alabama. That is going to be a recipe for having a lead and holding on to it. After that slow start against Baylor, they're up against Baylor, and they never really let them cut into it. Auburn is up 2 scores rather early against South Alabama, and South never really cuts into that the whole way. They threaten, but they never really cut to that. So those things are positive, and it could show improvement. But I'm looking at SP Plus right now with the new updates, and it's like, we're 3 games into the season, and after these 3 games, Auburn's projected win total is 7.8, right? And 28% chance of finishing 8-4, 23.7% chance of finishing 7-5, and then 9 wins, 20.5%. That's kind of where we were to start the season. So it's like, how much have we learned? How much have we seen? I don't know. And maybe that was always going to be the case before you hit SEC play. Don't take anything away from the fact that they went on the road and beat Baylor, right? And I'm very curious to see what Baylor does this season, especially with the offense that they've got. Interested to see what South does. I do wonder, every game and every week should be treated differently, right? Auburn, we've said it before. Auburn loses to New Mexico State, should have beat Alabama, a week later in 2023. Last season, can't do anything against Vanderbilt, beat Texas A&M a couple weeks later. Is this game against South Alabama going to go down as a flat, vanilla, uninspiring win that doesn't necessarily portend doom for the rest of the way? I got 2 examples there that came to mind, Dan, and I don't know if you 2017, you remember Auburn Mercer, all the turnovers, and Auburn only wins by 2 touchdowns. They do some good things, but they're never really able to pull away and blow them out. A week later, they go to Mizzou and line them up. Obviously, Oklahoma is not Mizzou. It's going to be a much tougher test. And then I also thought of an early season game. Do you remember week 2 in 2019, that Tulane game where Auburn's offense just really couldn't get anything going? They had like 30 rushing yards in the first half. The defense played well, but the offense did not really get off the map, and it takes them a little while to kind of find their stride. Just because they struggle against these group of 5 teams doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be condemned the rest of the season to do it. However, it is a sign that if you play to that level, you are going to get beat because the challenges step up. And I think that was the message we heard first and foremost from Hugh Freeze and his players, especially the ones on defense after the game, which is like, look, we've got a standard. We didn't hit the standard. We've got to do better. And we know we've got to do better because if they don't, you could have a 3-0 start. Right now, Dan, Auburn's not going to be favored in their next 3 games, right? So,
and I'm not sure what Auburn could have done in its first 3 games to earn a spot where they're favored in Norman or College Station or home against UGA. Like I thought that, like even I think it was possible for Auburn to perform well in the first 3 games and be 3-0 and still be considered an underdog until they win at least one of those games. You know, they're an underdog, and I think that's totally fair. We've sort of danced around let's get into like what specifically could cause some indigestion around Auburn fan bases from folks who have concerns coming out of those games. Because I also think, there are positives too.
Yeah, we'll talk about the positives. So let's start with the negatives. I'll go with our top 4. My first one, you got to start with it. Auburn's pass defense in this game. And look, at the end of the day, it is kind of crazy when you pull up the end game stats, and I think people who watch this game would be like, man, Auburn's defense, pass defense got shredded in this game, and that was really, really bad. At the end of the game, Dan, you look, South Alabama has 170 yards, just 6.5 yards per attempt, and you may look at that and just say, well, that's not terrible, and it's not, especially when you compare it to what happened 2 weeks ago against Baylor. But it was the method. It was the film. It's like, it goes beyond the stats here because Auburn played a team in South Alabama that is not nearly as talented as the ones they're about to face over these next 3, 4, 5 weeks beyond. And yet they had a really hard time slowing them down in the passing game. And there's several reasons for that. Some of them were out of their control. A lot of it was, though. Some you can say out of their control. Look, no Champ Anthony in this game. They held him out. Rayshawn Pleasant doesn't play in this game, right? Jay Crawford leaves early. And those things kind of add up. Sylvester Smith doesn't play a ton in the second half, I don't remember, in this game. Haven't rewatched all of it yet. And so that makes an impact. They played a lot of young guys and guys without as much experience, and there were busts. There were guys getting out of position. But I think Caleb Harris said it after the game. He was like, hey, I had a bust. Like, guys who have played a good bit did not play to their standard. One of the more, I think, really telling stats of this game, Dan, is Auburn's missed tackles in this game were only a few shy of what they had on against Baylor, and that was a dreadful effort tackling. The other thing that really gets me is if you go to Pro Football Focus and look, Auburn in this game, 170 passing yards from South Alabama. Dan, 101 of them come after the catch. And they did a lot of short stuff and they did some screens, but they didn't take the top off of Auburn's defense. It was a lot of guys getting open and then making plays after. There's that stretch in the third quarter where Auburn gives up 6 straight third down conversions, and they were easy. I mean, they were easy throws. Bishop Davenport for South Alabama, Dan, I don't know how many tough throws he made in this game.
And like you said, money downs, right? I mean, it's third and fourths and even, third and 6 or longers, right? Where it's, you've got a chance as an Auburn defense, and we talked about it in games last year. You got a chance to get yourself off the field. You want the offense to help keep you off the field. You want the offense to do its part. But as a defense, when you got a chance on 3rd and long or 4th and pretty much anything but 4th and 1, right? Like you've got yourself a chance to make a play and get the ball back. And I mean, I would guess that there are 6 or more 3rd and longs, or 3rd and 6 or longers, or 4th and medium or longers that South Alabama picks up in that game on Saturday. Where these are chances to change the complexion of a football game, and over again, Davenport was making the plays that kept the ball in. They have what five different double digit 10 plus play drives. South Alabama does, like their ability to keep the ball, and yes, they deserve some of the credit, but that's but
South Alabama.
Yes, but there should be, Auburn, that's an aspect of the game where you're hoping to see more, and you're hoping to see progress from Baylor to the South Alabama game, and some of it felt kind of familiar as to how South Alabama was making those plays.
Bishop Davenport attempted 26 passes in this game. PFF only says 3 of them were contested catches, and South Alabama makes 2 of them. Like, it was a lot of open stuff, and yes, maybe the injuries played a part into that, but even the guys who were on the field, it was just too soft. It was too soft. It was, and again, kind of like the Baylor game, they looked a step slow. They looked flat. The tackling wasn't good. The coverage wasn't good. And that's a real problem because, as I noted Saturday night, look at Saturday in college football. John Mateer throws for 270, 280 against Temple.
Georgia and A&M both put up 40-plus on the road.
A&M threw for 340.
Yeah.
They had a receiver go for 200-plus. Georgia has to go full shootout mode to win at Tennessee, and does. And
Stockton's making some money throws in that one.
Exactly. And so
game on the line type stuff.
If you're doing this, and South Alabama came into this game with a very efficient passing offense, but the talent level is not near what you're about to face in these next several weeks. So you've got to be able to step up and play better there. And it's just the yards after the catch, the missed tackles, the missed assignments. It adds up way too much, and you make too many mistakes. And if you keep playing that way, moving forward, you're in trouble. To your point earlier, Dan, about getting off the field. So South Alabama converts a 3rd and 6 on their first drive of the game. That ends with a field goal. They don't convert another 3rd down the rest of the way in the first half. And then in the second half, 3rd and 3, got it. 3rd and 6, got it. 3rd and 12, touchdown. 3rd and 1, got it. 3rd and 11, got it. 3rd and 10, get it on a penalty. And the streak ends with Jared Smith's strip sack, early in the fourth quarter, which ended up being one of the bigger plays in the game. South Alabama came to this game 30% on 3rd downs. That was something that we had talked about. Going into this game, Major Applewhite had said we've got to get better on money downs on both sides of the ball. And that wasn't an area of strength. And even when they were backed up, they felt like they could go get it. They were more effective in 3rd and medium and 3rd and long than they were in 3rd and shorts. And I think that's a testament to Auburn's run defense, which continues to be one of the better ones in the country. But in this game, you felt like the coverage just was not there nearly enough. And when Auburn was able to get stops, a lot of it came down to the pass rush. And the pass rush wasn't great in this game.
That was about to be my question, because I was like, how much of what happened Saturday was a combination of coverage and pass rush versus something that can really sort of be pointed at coverage, for these, for the pass defense, because pass defense works in tandem.
Sure,
it's coverage and it's rushing quarterback.
I didn't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. I didn't think when I was watching South Alabama throw the ball where I was thinking, man, he's got all the time in the world to throw. I think they were getting it out quick because guys were getting open quick. And so, yes, more pass rush would have helped.
The times Auburn got pressure, good things tended to happen for Auburn. I don't know how often Auburn, was, you can really feel like Auburn was able to get pressure on Davenport, and that's going to be important too. And Amaris, leaves the game with an injury. Hugh Freeze talked about the shoulder injury he suffered. Hopefully, Amaris is good to go because Auburn's going to need everything from their front seven against Oklahoma.
Only pressured 6 times on 29 dropbacks.
Yeah,
which you would expect more of that. However, I would also say South Alabama did a lot of their damage, screen passes, quick stuff, getting the things out of their hands. And so there's more pressure there on your secondary to play well. And you just didn't. You were missing some guys, but even then, you're coming off the field in this game where your top 2 snap getters are Caleb Harris and Kayan Lee, returning starters. And I think this is a reminder. It's still early.
How's your sense of how the outside corners did? How much of this was slot and
not as good?
Yeah.
This was a game where, you didn't have Jay Crawford all the way, and then you had to play. Rayon Strader ended up playing the second most amount of snaps.
No Pleasant either.
No Pleasant. Yeah, I said that earlier. Blake Woodby played more on corner as well, outside corner again. It felt like a kind of a combination of factors. In the past it had been, okay, it's just the slots and the tight ends, or that was the thing against Baylor. It was all over the field. Bishop Davenport was getting it out to different guys.
And it is fair to think that a totally healthy, not even totally healthy, if Champ and Jay Crawford and Pleasant are available, you would think that would help the coverage in the secondary, like taking those guys away puts more pressure on other players and throws some guys into roles that they haven't played a lot of this season. And I would think, I don't know, I got a feeling you see a lot of Champ against Oklahoma. Like I got a feeling
that have to. Yeah.
I think there's this, the hope that they can go to him early and often.
South Alabama completed a pass of 15 yards or more to 5 different receivers. Yeah. So it's everybody. It's not one matchup getting exposed. It's not one side of the field getting exposed. It is an everything kind of thing there for Auburn's pass defense.
Did Freeze talk about Jay Crawford in the post game?
Yes,
I think there was.
He went knee to knee with somebody.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and so you got to keep an eye on that. Coming out of that game or coming out of this game, and it's like they got to get guys healthy, and they were they were very cautious with some of them, and that plays a part. And like the youth they put on the field at certain times in the game played a part in the mistakes. But we saw veterans and we saw guys who've been out there for a while for Auburn. Like I said, Kayan Lee and Caleb Harris were your top 2 snap getters in this game. You did not play to the standard that you have set for yourself. And now you've got your first 3 games of the season, your pass defense is coming off the field feeling not great about their performances. The only exception was a game where, Ball State wasn't going to really do much of anything. And so the 2 times you've truly been tested, it hasn't gone well. And that is a cause for concern. It's a reminder, Dan, also, we can talk about all this stuff in the preseason and project and think and look and see, returning experience and depth and all that. And we thought Auburn secondary could be a strength of their team. It's a reminder that progression isn't always linear. And I don't think of the returning guys from Auburn in the secondary, I do not think you have seen steps forward from them. So it's like it's not guaranteed. Now, they can get better. We have seen teams get off to slow starts in certain parts of the field, in certain units, and they get better as the season goes on. And I think Auburn absolutely has to in this game. I'll also say this about the pass defense. For as much trouble as they had in this game, one of the reasons they come out of this game where the final totals don't look nearly as bad, they after the touchdown on 3rd and 12, Auburn blitzes. Devin Voisin gets and scores a touchdown late in the 3rd quarter.
It's the first drive of the 3rd quarter.
Davenport, because Auburn takes it pretty much most of the rest of the 3rd quarter. You're right.
And I believe when South scores that touchdown to make it 31-15, is it 28-15? When South scores to make it 28-15. They have a pretty significant time of possession lead. Yes. And then Auburn has the ball for the next
sits on it for the rest
Auburn has the ball for the next 8 minutes.
But at that point in the game, when he threw that touchdown, when Bishop Davenport threw that touchdown pass, he was 15 of 18 at that point. 15 of 18 for 164 yards. Super efficient game.
Yeah.
Super efficient game. What happened the rest of the way? Starting in the 4th quarter, Bishop Davenport only completes 3 of his final 8 passes for 6 yards. And so in the 4th quarter, Auburn's defense does step up. Now, I think there's a holding and a pass interference. I know there for a fact there's a pass interference call, a very controversial one on the Auburn sideline that would have been a 4th down stop. I think there might have been another penalty.
You have the hold on Fagans and the DPI on KLF.
Yeah.
are both on that drive.
But you get some sacks, you get some incompletions, you get the one completion he had of over a yard was a 4th and 3 pass that moves the chains for 4 yards. So Auburn did get better in the fourth quarter against the pass. They did not sit back and get shredded the entire game. The fourth quarter, they did step up, and there were young guys on the field.
Oh, actually, the KLF play is on the next drive.
Yes,
but the Fagans one, yeah, there's a holding on Fagans to keep the drive that ends in a fumble.
Yes,
is extended with
the other one, and the other one's on the one that ends in a turnover on
yes,
yeah. Right. So they did better in the fourth quarter, and like whatever happened in the fourth quarter, and South Alabama started running the ball a little bit more. They got some 3rd and longs and turned them into 4th and shorts, and they were able to convert that way. That was smart play calling, I thought, from South in those situations. Auburn did finish the game better in pass defense. They got to take whatever worked there, distill that, and keep it going moving forward. It wasn't like they ended the game terribly. Now, the third quarter was bad. The fourth quarter wasn't as bad for the defense, especially through the air. And so can you take that momentum moving forward? Because, look, John Mateer is playing ball as, one of the better-looking quarterbacks in college football through the first 3 weeks of the season. I think we can all agree on that one. Marcel Reed just had a career passing night on the road against Notre Dame to get the win, and Gunnar Stockton looked really good in that shootout against Tennessee on the road. The bottom line is this. If you're struggling with tackling, missed assignments, coverage, all that, you had some young guys out there, but you had some old guys out there as well. If you were doing it that much against a team like South Alabama, who could end up having a pretty good and efficient and smart passing offense, they've been doing this a long time. That coaching staff, Paul Petrino had some really good schemed up stuff there. All that can be true. You got to be better. What Auburn put out on the field on Saturday on defense for the majority of the game is going to get them beat consistently in SEC play.
Right.
There's no other way around it.
And I worry about seeming too harsh because Auburn did take a double-digit lead fairly early in the second quarter and keep it the entire game. But at the same time, I think to me the really and disappointing might be too strong of a word, but to me the part that's disappointing there is that first drive of the third quarter, Auburn is seemingly in position to get a stop and have firm control of the game. Right? It's 28 to it's 28 to 9. Mm-hmm. When like South Alabama's driving down 19 in a situation where if Auburn gets the ball back up 19, you're in position to cruise, right? Like you're in position to, let alone if you get another score on the board, and now you're talking about what 35 to 9, early in the third quarter, like potentially, and
you can't get off the field on a 3rd and 3, a 3rd and 6, and a 3rd and 12.
And South has, coming out of halftime, South has 4 different 10-plus yard passing plays on that first drive of the third quarter.
Yep.
Right, where you would think, okay, we've had some time to see what Davenport's doing. You've been able to see, and I'll tell you what, Voisin is a good player. Crestview High School, 850. No eligibility remaining. I checked during the game. But
he only had 4 catches. Anthony Eager was 8 and 9 on his targets.
Yeah, and it's Voisin has the touchdown there at the beginning of the.
How about this? 43 of his 55 yards came after the catch in this game. It's just you had opportunities, and either with soft coverage or bad tackling or both, it's just the leverage doesn't look good, and it hasn't looked good for them. You got to play better. You absolutely have to play better. And there were some times last season where Auburn's pass defense did not look good. And they turn around and have really good pass defense games later on. It's 3 games in the season. The story has not been completely written on this team. Week by week, teams change and look different. It's college football. However, like I said, what Auburn put out there for the majority of the game, especially in pass defense on Saturday against South Alabama, that's an easy way to be 3 and 3. or 3-4, or 3-5.
Yeah, I mean, with the slate you got, like I said, six of your 8 SEC opponents are in the top 25.
Because guess what, Missouri and Arkansas can throw the ball too. So once you get past that Georgia stretch, those teams can throw the ball. You don't get a break, quote unquote, until you play Kentucky, and even then, we don't know what that's going to look like. That's going to be 6 weeks from now.
And you've got a lot of football against a lot of good teams between now and then.
All right, so we went long there on the pass defense, which we should.
Yeah, that can also be one. I mean, that's sort of my concern about covering everywhere, especially internally. I mean, and it gets back to Baylor, right? Yeah. The slot options, the tight end options, running backs out of the flat, like those are things that, I mean, it matters. You have to be able to cover those guys too, and that's something that I think Auburn, with the way John Mateer was getting rid of the ball.
Yeah, he's one of the most efficient and best looking quarterbacks in the country last season and so far through the first 3 weeks. In a season where we've seen quarterbacks so far fail to live up to the preseason hype, he has delivered. Since
we're on the defense anyway, well, we can bounce back because I'm going to single out a player, but let's talk about Eric Singleton for a second. Let's move to the offense because that is and there are a lot of different stories you can sort of. There are a lot of different places you can go here. Eric Singleton's one of the best receivers I've ever seen in this uniform. Like through a couple of games, like this guy is. I mean, we said it going in. Like he has been as advertised and looks the part of a genuine number one and a guy who I can't wait to see what he can do this year. So hopefully he's okay after. Kind of the landing outside the end zone. It seems like he was favoring the hip a little bit after that.
Yeah, and a hip pointer according to Hugh Freeze after the game. You got to be careful with that. You want to make sure that doesn't come back and haunt you. In the very near future. Yeah, according to Game on Paper right now, Dan, you are in a situation where Eric Singleton is. Currently 15th in the country in EPA per target. So like he's playing really, really well. He was super efficient in this game. You want him to be 100% healthy for sure. But like the fact that this guy can do it in a lot of different ways is the other thing that sticks out. And, Eric Singleton in this game, Dan, converts a 4th and 5 with a catch, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 9. Like he moves the chains for Auburn in some key ways. Can be that sweep action, especially when you have the threat of Jackson Arnold to keep it and run it, which we saw a few times, hand it off to a guy like Jeremiah Cobb.
And if you don't want to overly rely on Jackson, especially in out-of-conference games, and you also have some limited availability at running back, having those sweep options, I mean, and with the full allotment of receivers, with Malcolm back, I mean, I think that could be an even larger part of the offense than what you saw against South Alabama, but it's
4 of 4 on targets, 10 to 19 yards downfield. That intermediate game, which you felt like Auburn didn't have a ton of last season outside of, KLS, on a somewhat consistent basis. He has just been super efficient. He hasn't really gotten a big play. The touchdown pass in the Ball State game, his first one, I think is a big one, but very efficient. And he's the kind of game changer that this team needed. And like losing Keandre Lambert-Smith was big. He does it in a different way, but he's very efficient. This is a guy that's sub 6 feet and can do the slot, twitchy, sweep, screen kind of stuff like that. But like I said, when you are efficient with your opportunities downfield and you get open, stay open, and make and have solid hands for the catch, it is such a weapon for Jackson Arnold. And I asked Arnold after the game specifically about Singleton and just what he brings to the table. And here's what Jackson Arnold said about Singleton. He said, he's been great. That first drive was huge for us. We ran our mesh concept and he got open, just wide open. He has a knack for getting open. I remember another time he had a stick route and attacked that Tampa middle safety, spun him around. I remember smiling during that whole play. He has a knack for getting open. That's a guy I can trust on normal downs and third downs to go and run his route the correct way and find space. Dan, like you said, just a super efficient playmaker.
And as happy as you are to land the freeze 4, and the fact that they're still around is outstanding. And I think that all of those guys, still seem to have bright futures ahead of them in college football. Like the fact that, if Auburn is getting Singleton and Horatio Fields is enormous for this team. Like the fact that you don't have to rely entirely on those 4 sophomore receivers to provide all your production, and you have a couple of guys that have gone through the fire at different places in college football and came in and competed and looked to be, it's a lot of what you do through the air this year is going to depend on what kind of, what do you get out of Horatio, and especially what do you get out of Eric Singleton.
Horatio Fields gets that drop, early in the game. It was a 3-and-out, quick 3-and-out for Auburn. That could have easily been a first down. He comes back and catches a huge third down ball, I think, on his very next opportunity, and ends up leading to an Auburn touchdown. Yeah, having that there. Cam Coleman gets that big touchdown catch, and one, go up and get it. That's what he's best at. I think the quick hitter stuff and the intermediate, maybe more of the stuff over the middle of the field, we've now seen he's, 15 games into his college career, give or take. That's not his strength. That's not where he's been as efficient, but being that one-on-one winner on that, you love having that kind of player. He's an immense talent. But what Singleton, and to a lesser extent what we've seen from Field so far, is can you do some of that other stuff so that you can have kind of more of a wide-ranging passing attack? But you're right, Dan. Like Eric Singleton in this game, I wrote about it in the observations. If you just want to look at, EPA in this game, Eric Singleton averaged 1.11 EPA per his 7 targets, which means he himself was valued at more than a touchdown's worth of better than average play, for his team. He's just, you got to keep feeding that dude. And you hope he's healthy. You need to have him. That's going to be something Auburn's going to have to really, really monitor. And he's had, he had preseason injury concerns. And you don't have Malcolm Simmons at 100% right now. You did get a little bit of Bryce Cain in this game. But you got to have him out there because he is looking like your early season MVP. Obviously Jackson Arnold's doing a ton, throwing the ball, and we'll talk about Jackson here shortly. But yeah,
and I don't want to speculate too much on Eric, but it was an awkward landing. He didn't seem to require too much assistance on the sideline. I wonder how much the game situation played a role in the decision not to put him back in.
It did feel like in the second half, Auburn on both sides of the ball made a concerted effort to let's just get out of here. Let's get these games. And maybe let me take my number 2 point here, Dan. It felt like Auburn just let off the throttle in this game in the second half. Free said afterwards that he felt like he was too conservative with the lead. This Auburn offense is doing a really good job of being efficient. They're not boom or bust, which is good. You're getting the efficiency. The fact that, Jeremiah Cobb goes 19 carries for 119 yards, 15-yard runs his longest of the day. I think he had 4 10-plus yard carries, which is good. That's really good from your running back. You still aren't really taking the top off the defense outside of, that Coleman touchdown. You're not as boom or bust. You're not going for broke. You're taking what the defense is giving you, and you're chewing it up. You would have liked to have finished that one drive there in the second half with a touchdown, but you get Alex McPherson a short field goal.
The fact that Auburn's second drive of the second half.
They only had 7 real drives in the game. Both teams only had 7 real drives.
Auburn's second drive of the second half comes after the fumble in the fourth quarter with 10 minutes to go in the game.
And they go 3 and out, and that wasn't good.
But at the same time, up 16 with 10 minutes to go in a game, I can understand why a coach isn't necessarily saying, let's put the throttle down. Yeah. And
even then, when they got the ball after the touchdown in the third quarter, it felt like the ball control was kind of the bigger aspect of it than, necessarily trying to go for broke. And look, Auburn's going to have more explosiveness. You're going to have to hit bigger plays to beat the teams you've got coming up. Because guess what? Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, all these teams, they have shown a lot more explosive potential. And maybe
Auburn's running 40 seconds per play off the clock, too. If you look at
they're banged up.
Yeah,
they're banged up.
In that third quarter, Auburn was I think there was a deliberate and probably the correct move strategically, and something that, to his credit, maybe Hugh Freeze didn't do enough with leads
It's a little bit of that in this game, like we saw in the Baylor game. They win the Baylor game doing the thing they did not do against Oklahoma last season. Well, guess what? This is a new Oklahoma team coming up. But, for Auburn, it's like the ability to move the chains, be efficient, stay on the field, right? The fact that, yes, the only 2 times they punted in this game were 3 and outs, but like we said earlier, Fields catches that ball, it's a first down. Who knows how that drive ends up. That last one going 3 and out was tough. Like that's you needed more than that there, but they took the throttle down. I think that was by design. Freeze even said felt like he went a little bit too conservative. They were getting younger guys into the game. They were trying to get out of there healthy. They racked up the injuries in this game. When you look at just the guys who were held out and the guys who got banged up. So I would say I have talked about how there is great value and that this team is not boom or bust on offense like they were last season. They were very much that last season. How about this? Auburn is perfect in red zone trips this season at finishing drives. And look, they've played 3 sub-85 defenses. It's not been great. However, there's only 26 FBS teams that have scored on every trip to the red zone so far this season, and Auburn's one of them.
Auburn had some empty red zone trips last year against defenses
that were not good
in that range or within striking distance of what you just said. Yeah.
So I think there is value in being able to just hit 6-7 yards at a time on the ground, or your passing, your passing game. You get a 32-yard touchdown. It's a lot of 14s, 12s, 7s, 8s, 9s. You hit those on a consistent basis, you're going to be fine. They're going to have to be more explosive. Maybe if they're full strength, you feel like Auburn can be gambling a little bit more or trying to push it a little more, or just get the opportunities that they might have missed in this game. You want to see more explosiveness. I will say though, for Auburn's offense, my take is they are playing with the efficiency, the down-to-down, drive-to-drive efficiency, and finishing drives that we did not see from them last season, and that is a step forward. If you can get some more explosiveness with that, you've got a pretty good offense. Right now, Auburn has been a solid offense through the first 3 weeks of the season. They've also not played great defenses, but like you said earlier, Dan, they're 30-plus points in all 3 games to start the season. Last season, they put up more yards in games like this, but they weren't always as efficient with their scoring opportunities, and I think that's pretty important.
Do you also, and I guess this is a sidebar to your point before I do my my third one, but do you think there's been a change between the Baylor game and the 2 games since Baylor as far as how they deploy, specifically Jackson? So I think that changes this offense too, as far as how much do you want his running to be.
He ran more in this game.
And some of them scramble, some of them by design. But I think like that's something that I wonder, and we'll have a better idea over these next 3 games, like how much, because if they were preserving Jackson at all in Ball State and trying to deliberately sort of thinking about how limit his exposure, limit the number of hits he can potentially take because you need him to be ready to go. What you're saving him for is Oklahoma and A&M and Georgia and everything after that. So
he's looking really good running the ball, and he's looking really good throwing off those RPOs and the play action. That part of the game is continuing to be good. And if they have an efficient rushing attack attached to it, you've got some one-on-one playmakers. You can take advantage of those things. That has been good. Like what you have seen is consistently good. He's staying healthy. He's making the right decisions. There was only a couple times yesterday where you felt like he put it in the wrong spot, didn't go where he needed to. There was a miscommunication or 2 on some of the deep balls. So he only went 13 of 24. It's 54% completion percentage. I think take away the drops, the throwaway, maybe 1 or 2 of those, miscommunications. It's a much better passing game than maybe the stats show there. All right, you're number 3, Dan.
Yeah, I think that was sort of there was conversation in the press box about the idea that Jackson's having one of those days where accuracy and completion percentage do not necessarily mean the same thing.
Yes.
And that would be on display. And again, you don't want to deal in absolutes because a lot can change about what we know about this team when we see them against the opponents they're about to play. But I get the sense that Auburn is considerably better in short yardage than they've been the last couple of years, and that feels important. Mm-hmm. That Auburn can be a team that knows they can get a 3rd and short or a 4th and short and actually and conduct the entire offense, call plays, knowing that third and short, fourth and short between Jackson and the PB&J offensive line, the PB&J package, and Jeremiah, who is a good short yardage option, and Damari, who could be back soon and is a potent short yardage weapon. And plus, we saw sweeps and pop passes and things that can keep a defense from just playing the middle of the offensive line as the hot zone in short yardage. And so, yeah, I'd sort of love what you make of what seems to be a significant improvement in that aspect of the game from Freeze's first couple of years to this team.
Yeah, I really think that the short yardage stuff has really worked out for Auburn. They were a perfect, 4 for 4 on power run opportunities against South Alabama. It's South Alabama. Look, Baylor, South Alabama, Ball State, these are all not good defenses. They're just not. But you're doing it consistently. You're showing that ability. If you can do that coming up when you play Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, who all have top 20 defenses, that goes a long way. I think Jeremiah Cobb's ability to break tackles, run between the tackles, run with power, finish well, that body control that he has been huge. You have been without Damari Alston the last 2 games, but you still feel like you've had a hammer in the backfield to deploy against these defenses. That's big because when you have Alston, like you said, when you have Alston back, you have the full complement, and maybe you can get Darrell Robinson back going, sometime later this season. You have a situation where you can use. I
still get the all over shivers when we hear about. So all the best to Darrell and whenever he can shake it off. But I think in the meantime, right, like Auburn feels pretty good about what you've seen from Omar through a couple of games. Is promising. I think there are some. There's the belief that could. That there could be big advances in his game in early on. Yeah. And then I think just having a healthy Damari because it was he added a dimension against Baylor with sort of a change of pace with him and Jeremiah, and just I think it's going to be, you really hope Auburn has the full allotment of running backs to give defenses different looks these next couple of weeks because it's it's a tough thing to account for.
Yeah, it really is. And I think for Auburn, you come out of this thinking that you can run the ball on an efficient basis. The defenses are who they are, but Auburn has a top 10 rushing attack right now in EPA, success rate. Jackson Arnold's done a really good job of it. And that's another thing, too, is it gets to 4th and 1. Or it gets to, how about this? Auburn gets a 3rd and 9, and they call a draw play to set up a better play and we saw South Alabama do that more. And I think that's it's smart football we don't always see. If you are truly viewing something as this is 4-down territory and I have 2 plays to get 8 or 9 yards, don't be afraid if the defense is backed off to run it there. But yes, the running there for Auburn, I think, has been, it's been as advertised. That this is a team that they felt like they could run block better. They can perform better at the line of scrimmage. I think in 3 matchups against less talented competition, you have shown like you have lived up to it. And having Jeremiah Cobb being able to break those tackles, be that between the tackles type of guy, was big because it's not like Auburn has come into these games and say, well, we have a scat back and we got to figure out what we have to do with the scat back. No, Jeremiah Cobb has shown that he can be more of an every down feature back, and that's huge. That's a huge development for this team because you feel like you're deeper and stronger at a running back position when you haven't really had that. I'll piggyback off that for my number 3. I think this was Auburn's best game on the offensive line. Yeah. PFF only has South Alabama for 2 pressures all game. Kept a very, very clean pocket in this one. And they tried different stuff. They blitzed. They moved fronts. This Auburn offensive front was challenged. Ball State is significantly worse than South Alabama. But Ball State had much more success getting after Jackson Arnold than South Alabama did. And that's significant because I feel like you have an offensive line that stepped up to the challenge. Your tackles played pretty well in this game. And the run blocking has always been it with this unit, I thought. This game really showed just, okay, what can this look like when What can this look like in the passing attack when everybody's clicking in pass pro? And you thought Jeremiah Cobb had a really good day, throwing some blocks. Your tight ends are very effective in this as well.
The fact that you're not talking about the tackles, I think, is probably a really positive sign.
There were several passes in this game, Dan, where you saw Arnold going through his progressions and having time to throw. And I still think this team's at its best when it is getting the ball out with the RPO and the quick stuff. But you are going to have to do that, and they did that more in this game. It wasn't just there was more intermediate throws downfield, not deep shots. They're still not doing a ton of those, and we'll see if that's going to be a thing moving forward. But those intermediate balls where you have to have some protection and some time, I thought they did well. And I thought, they responded to the challenge. Look, Oklahoma's going to be a whole lot harder with the crowd, with Brent Venables' defense. We saw them put, Bryce Underwood in a vice grip like 2 weeks ago. This game coming up, they're going to have to be even better. So this was a good step forward. We talk about how Auburn's pass defense needs to improve and take those steps forward and show that they can be better. Auburn's offensive line took a step forward. They showed improvement. They showed the stuff that the pass defense is going to have to do in the weeks to come. So I think there's some optimism to be found in that. That's a group that I thought on Saturday, Dan, played like their preseason hype said they could be. The experience, the continuity in the interior, the communication, the protections. It was a really clean game. You're hardly ever again in a game going to be completely clean in a pocket. It's just not going to happen. The fact that only 2 pressures on, Jackson Arnold drops back to pass. Jackson Arnold drops back to pass 27 times in the game is only pressured twice. Like, that's good. And there were a couple of scrambles that he had in this game where it wasn't that he was getting pressured. He just saw the lane and took off. He did some of that against Ball State as well. I think that's a good attribute to have. Really came away from this game thinking Auburn's offensive line heard the challenge and responded to it, and they're going to have to continue on that trajectory in the weeks ahead because, man, it gets infinitely tougher these next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember, there is South Alabama is credited for a sack.
And it's one of those pressure and Arnold scrambles, and he gets out of bounds short of the line, short of the line of scrimmage. So it is a sack technically, but not a traditional gets walloped in the backfield.
It's right after the 2-minute timeout at the end of the first half, that play, and it set up. It's a loss of 1 yard. So no, I think for the when that's your big negative play out of the passing game,
and then you convert that 3rd and 9 immediately with Eric Singleton.
Yeah, and that's a good pass too, right? That's one where that's a play. If I'm remembering it correctly, that's the one where it feels like Jackson's got Jeremiah in the flat, and he looks beyond Jeremiah and finds Eric Singleton.
He has protection, takes a beat, and he sees Singleton past the sticks for first down.
Yeah, I think that Jackson's showing you some he is, and we're seeing around college football, we're seeing some guys that look like they're playing. This is career start number 2. This is career start number 3, with mixed results.
Yep.
As we talk to the SEC, but Jackson has done multiple things in all 3 of these games, where it's a reminder. It's like, no, this guy has played some college football and he's learned some things on the job. And look, that year last year, at Oklahoma for Jackson, and there's gonna be a lot of talk this week about. Remember how Jarrett Stidham was from Texas? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if you've heard, but
so is Jackson Arnold.
But
more importantly, he started at Oklahoma.
Jackson Arnold played. I wonder if I wonder if my question to Venables gets some run this week. The long answer about what went wrong for Jackson last year from media days, but I think you've seen multiple things from Jackson Arnold where he learned some tough lessons at Oklahoma about what he can and can't do on a college football field. And I think he's applied some of that this year. Yeah. And you've seen a willingness to, that clock, that mental clock, the alarm that goes off where, hey, you've had this ball too long and you need to bail out. Or there were a couple, there's a play that stands out for me yesterday, Justin, where, Jackson's got pressure coming from behind. Yeah, he's surrounded. And it's, it's to see him get out of those situations without too much trouble. Granted, knowing the competition improves, but seeing it so far, I think it's very promising.
Yeah, he hasn't been asked to do a ton, but taking care of the ball, making the right decisions, making the right reads, and being a very efficient runner, I think those are a lot of check boxes. You're going to have to do more moving forward, but you like where he's at, and you felt like in this game he had a really good command of where the ball needed to go, trusting his protection, and it was a very clean game from him, even though the stats aren't always going to be great from it. Your fourth thing.
It is a weird, not to quote my question to Venables directly, but it is weird in college football that, you're facing, it's NFL style. Hey, last year's quarterback is bringing his new team into your building, and can't wait to see what that looks like. Let's talk a little Keyron Crawford as my fourth point, because he gets career interception number 1. We've talked about maybe Keyron backing off in coverage as a way not just to throw offenses off about where the blitz is coming from. That's an effective way to slow down some of those short passes over the middle, in the flat. You drop a
disguise, sim,
You drop someone who's normally a pass rusher, and suddenly he's in a passing window that the quarterback isn't expecting, and that can throw a little bit of water in the circuitry. And I thought with Keyron, it's great to see a guy who I think was brought in, and there was is he a one-dimensional pass rusher? Is that all he is that all he does? He's developing into an outside linebacker and a complete football player who can give you a lot of different things. Keep in mind, kind of like when we were talking about Rivaldo, this is a guy who was new to the sport and is learning college football and learning football in a way that most of these guys, I think there's the potential for considerable growth, right? When you're talking about somebody who's he's still learning some things that guys probably learned a lot earlier than Keyron did. But it's great to see. Great to see his start to the season, and he's going to be vitally important these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, he got credited with a pressure in this game. Only rushed the passer 14 times. But yeah, I think Keyron has turned into more of a complete edge rusher that they want to have with, Calvert Falk on the other end, but you got to be able to drop back in coverage. You got to be able to do some of those things from time to time. They did that in this game. You look at Chris Murray is having to drop back into coverage. That's something he just didn't do at all at Sam Houston, at all. So you got to be able to have that kind of flexibility. Moving forward. How about this, Dan? I'll sandwich one with yours here, and then we'll finish with one. And there could be a bigger point to make about the youth movement on defense and just how much youth they played. And we talked about it earlier. You're getting guys like, New Boy Fagans and Eric Winters playing heavy snaps, and guys like Elijah Melendez and Bryce Diaz and all that. Jared Smith has the play of the game for Auburn. Prevents it from getting real scary. They push it close to the Auburn red zone, and on a third down, they had converted 6 straight third downs, and Jared Smith just come on home. How about this, Dan? 9 pass rushing snaps for Jared Smith on Saturday, the true freshman. 3 pressures, including that strip sack. That's exactly what you need. And I'll be interested to see how his career evolves and adapts, but there's a reason why he's getting playing time right now in a room that's got other guys. And look, I know in the case of Joe Phillips, you have a situation where some of those guys have been hurt, right? The class of 24 guys that have been banged up. But Jared Smith, as a true freshman, is getting on the field because that dude can rush the passer and pin his ears back and go. And it's and
there was chatter in the preseason.
Yeah.
Right? That even though Auburn's got some other guys who have been here longer, Jared Smith could break, he could be breaking in and getting some pass rushing snaps.
And it kind of feels like, it's like with DeMarcus Riddick. It's like when you have that kind of talented player, he might not be an every down guy, but that's not a knock. You can get good value out of guys who are specialists, who play certain roles. And he was Auburn's best pass rusher on Saturday. And got home when Auburn was not doing as well. And look, there was quick passes from South, but how many opportunities did they really have to get after the quarterback? especially with the coverage being the way it is. I don't know. But the fact that Jared Smith made those plays. So you get Jared Smith. If you have Jared Smith, contributing in that way, you got Keyron Crawford, you got Keldrick Falk, you got Chris Murray, you got hopefully a healthy Amaris Williams. It's that pass rush, the stock of that pass rush, even after a game where there's not, a ton of pressures, I think the stock is still moving up for Auburn's pass rush, especially when you see the emergence of a guy like Jared Smith in this game.
How surprised would you be to see? I mean, you got to be careful about a lot of Jared Smith, but I would think situationally, these next couple of weeks,
I think he can be a third down guy for you. I think he'd be a third and long guy, obvious passing situation. Might not have to ask him to do too much, but it's like, hey, dude, pin your ears back and beat that guy across from you. Get to the quarterback. He's got that skill set for sure. My fourth and final point, Dan. I want to talk. Talk some progress. First game, Auburn special teams had a solid day. Not perfect, but a solid day. Didn't ask
bumpy start.
Yeah, did not know that rule. I'll cop to that one. Did not know the whole, if somebody calls fair catch and someone else catches it, it's where it is, and it's not a touchback. I did not know that rule. Auburn overcomes it, though, and scores that touchdown. No Rayshon Pleasant.
Is that what – see, I thought it was a flag because they said Omar attempted to advance it.
No.
After the fair catch. It's
Bryce Kane called fair catch, but Omar caught it.
Yes.
Well, you can't do that.
Yeah, and I knew that part, but I thought maybe they're like, okay, they said flag, but I didn't see a flag. So it's like they didn't throw it wasn't
they threw it late.
Okay, there was because I was like, I knew that aspect that once if anyone calls fair catch
and tries to run it, they can hit him with a delay game.
But I thought the thinking was that Omar had attempted to advance that at the fair catch. No, it's just that he came up and caught it, and that alone is
that's with the new touchback rules. That's part of. That's
by the way, if it's a fair catch on the kick return, don't you just maybe walk away and let that ball hit the ground on a it's
it's got to go into the end zone. That one was coming up short, obviously, because Kane didn't go and get it. You don't want it to let it go, let it check up, and oh boy, here comes South Alabama.
What? No, but once it touches the end zone for any reason, you get the touchback.
But it's got to go into the end zone. Yeah. And if I remember correctly, that ball's caught at the 15.
That one was Omar comes up for it.
Correct.
Later, I think Bryce later in the game fair catches a couple in the end zone, but it's
and he has a good return on one as well.
Yes,
I thought though the special teams positive EPA did outside of that. I think that was the only penalty they had on special teams in this game. The coverage units looked pretty good. Didn't have issues with your kickoff. Didn't have issues with your coverage there. Punting looked better in this game. You only did it twice, but I thought both punts were pretty good.
Didn't have issues making extra points, which doesn't seem to be a big deal until you see someone else struggling.
Not just South Alabama, but the whole reason why Texas A&M probably is a winner today. We'll get to that. But yeah, that was something. Again, you wanted to see in this game is you're not asked to do too much. It's kind of like with some of the things with Jackson Arnold on the offense. You're not being asked to do a ton, but can you be positive when what you were tasked to do? And I thought after a first couple of games where Auburn special teams it was a negative EPA, and for those first two games, this was a positive EPA game. Just straight up, they brought more value. They did not take away value. It was a net positive for special teams. It's progress again, and it's like what we're talking about with the pass defense, and like we talked about with the pass protection from the offensive line. Just because a team struggles in an area doesn't mean they're doomed to do that the rest of the way. You got to go to work, and I think Auburn showed in a couple areas, maybe in some smaller ways, like when you look at special teams, it's not a big deal, but you did get better. And special teams was not harmful. It did not do more damage than good in this game.
You did not get your answer on what's Auburn going to do in a high leverage, borderline field goal range sort of thing. But you don't have that situation in this game. So I mean,
you didn't want to be in that situation.
No, you don't.
In this game.
I did say to you in the press box, if Auburn has a comfortable enough lead, I'd love to see him let Connor try to drain one. But
I am full cross that bridge when you get there.
Exactly. Yeah, you were right, but at no point did that come up.
Because what happens if you miss it? Now it's in your head.
Exactly. Yeah, and at no point had it I would say you'd want the situation to happen to develop sort of organically, where it's okay, well it's fourth in a while, and it's fourth and a we're in borderline field goal range. It's maybe give it a shot, but
No.
And
look, Auburn went for it a couple times.
Yes, they did.
And do it. Like if you have confidence in those short yardage plays, go do it. And then it was a 4th and 5 or a 4th and 4 where they threw the ball and worked. Like again, if you have those answers, go to those answers more often. All right, let's take a quick trip. This is not sponsored content. Let's take a quick trip through the rest of college football.
Should be sponsored.
Yeah, well,
shout out to Quick Trip.
Yeah, we just like Quick Trip. Yeah. Let's take a quick look through the rest of college football over the weekend, Dan. Let's start with the big upset, and not really an upset because I think I saw like SP Plus, FPI, and those places like had Georgia Tech favored in this game, and for good reason. They get off to a good start. Clemson rallies back, and then Georgia Tech 55-yard game winner. Tech wins 24-21 over Clemson. Clemson is now 1-2 for the first time in a very long time. They, like Notre Dame, are kind of like it might be it in terms of how much attention we need to pay you for the rest of the way. Like they could still, look, they could still make noise in the ACC. They'll probably have to win out to do that, though. But I mean, Clemson has looked off all season. They did not have much of anything going against LSU, and LSU's defense looks good. Troy was taking it to him in that first half last week, and Troy's only touchdown yesterday was a scoop and score, so that ought to tell you something about kind of what's going on there. And Tech made the plays to get a good lead, and then had to have it at the end, and they did.
I think two of the easiest coaches to root for, two of the easiest situations in college football to root for are coaches who happen to be at their alma maters. Brent Key at Georgia Tech, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, and what those guys are doing, and the fact that it's a graduate of the program and a guy who, it means a lot for them. I mean, it means a lot no matter where you are, but it means a little bit more when you're talking about somebody trying to turn, an alma mater that's not everyone's idea of a football powerhouse or a perennial conference championship contender, when you're trying to turn them into something else. And it's working. Mm-hmm. It's something really, really cool to see. And I thought with the excitement around the Georgia Tech win yesterday and what Clark Lee's had rolling for a little while, let's jump
to that one. 31-7 over South Carolina. I thought Vandy was going to win this game anyway because I think just South Carolina has not impressed me at all. Lenore Sellers get knocked out of the game matters. It mattered in this game. However, Lenore Sellers doesn't play defense, and he didn't. Lenore Sellers wasn't going to stop you from giving up 31 in this game.
South Carolina without Lenore Sellers is probably a bottom 4 team in the SEC, but with him, I'm not sure they're in the top half. And they're
a collection of some really good players, but I have not seen it all kind of gel for them yet. Vanderbilt 6-12 on third downs in this game. They dominated time of possession. They did exactly what they wanted to do in this one. Ran the ball well, 22 first downs. Yes, Sellers being out there would have changed the game for sure. It would have mattered, but Vandy still got a 31 without it, and that is a thumping of a team that people had really high hopes for heading into the season. Vanderbilt's good, and they look better than they did last season, and Auburn knew that was going to be a challenge because it's Vandy, it's Diego Pavia, it's all that. The narrative's only going to grow and grow. That Vanderbilt team's for real, and I think we knew that before Saturday night, but we definitely know that coming out of that. So that's just a game you're going to have to keep an eye on, or a team you're going to have to continue to keep an eye on moving forward. They look really good. Scrolling down the list until I see a game, Bama, Wisconsin. That was just they're getting Ryan Williams going again. They're throwing the ball. Wisconsin was on their backup quarterback. Even at full strength, I am of the opinion that I think my take on this is that I think Alabama might have just gotten Gus Malzahn in week 1, and I think they still could end up being a really good team.
Well, I think
that's just me.
They're probably still a really good team, but what does that mean, right? Especially with Georgia and Vandy and Missouri and Tennessee, I think is the next 4 for Alabama.
And I think, you look at Georgia and you look at Texas and you look at LSU and you look at the other contenders in the SEC, they all have their flaws as well. So I know Alabama had a loss in week 1 that no one saw coming, but I think that's going to look a lot more lot different moving forward.
Simpson has been very good since the Florida State game. I don't.
They
want
have made
to,
a concerted effort to get him going again.
Yeah, and I don't want to dismiss it because it could end up being meaningful, but it's Monroe and Wisconsin, which feels like it's
doing against Wisconsin's defense isn't nothing.
It's true.
It's not the old Wisconsin defense, but still,
I think that. I mean, not to look ahead, but that game in Athens. This upcoming that is the thought. Yeah, I mean that's a monster.
Georgia 44, Tennessee 41. Tennessee looked awesome to start this game. We'd said it like Kirby Smart has had Josh Heupel's number offensively, and Georgia brought enough guns to the shootout in this one, and I mean really impressive for them to come back the way they did. They ran the ball a lot too, which I think helped that defense out later in the game, that they were able to kind of make some plays.
A 21-point quarter against Georgia is very impressive, but and the fact that Georgia can give up 21 in a quarter.
I think Aguilar had over 200 yards before he threw his first incompletion, which was crazy. The end of game, the fourth down touchdown from Georgia is stunning. To do that on the road with a guy that doesn't have a ton of experience. That's just a really, really good play. Really,
I was a doubter. I like full on. Like I was like, well, I wanted to see.
I've been buying him.
Yeah, I wanted to see more. Like I was like, all right, let's see with Stockton. Just how much of this is the supporting cast and how much of it is when he's called on to make plays.
And they did not look good on offense the first 2 weeks. They looked real good in this game. And again, that's just a sign that but
there were
teams change every week. Every week's a new game.
There were several. Hey, the chips are down, and you need your quarterback to make a big time play moments in that game. And every single time, Georgia got what they needed.
Yeah,
every single time.
Offensive line looked better in this game too. Yeah,
so if you were pumping your fist and thinking, okay, well Georgia had Kirby's had Fromm, who was the starter for 4 years, and he's had. He's in Carson. It's Stetson and Beck, and it's like, okay, well now the run's over. No, it's not. Like they've got another guy who can who
and he got a good supporting cast. The fact that Georgia was able to win a shootout is pretty telling. Now, Tennessee gave that game away. You give up a fourth down touchdown. I will never understand, Dan, though, the end of that game situation where they get into that. And that false start happens, and then you bail on trying to get that yardage back or line it up the way they do. I just don't. You get scared off. You throw your kicker into tougher. And look, you probably should make the kick. He made it even. I think he made pretty much the same kick in overtime, but tough miss for him. I thought Tennessee could have handled that end of game a whole lot better. Georgia could feel like they stole it, but again, their offense did enough to earn it. And man, I mean, I tweeted it. I think if you score 41 against Georgia and lose, you have to feel like you may never get this if you're Tennessee.
I wasn't all that shocked to see things slip away from Tennessee just because of how monumental that Stockton throw felt. Once you tie a game that way, it didn't even feel like it was tied anymore. It felt like even though the score was tied, it felt like Georgia had an advantage. And that, I mean, to see Tennessee mess up something that is fairly routine there at the end of the game. And I mean, look, Tennessee had their chances. I mean, they did, and that's going to be. I guess the good news is that you do have a circumstance now in the SEC where they could potentially see Georgia again.
Yeah,
this season, like you could.
They're still a really really good team.
You could run it back, and Tennessee's not going to be. Yeah, they're not going to be an easy out, but. They had a chance to, carry the goalposts out of Neyland Stadium, and instead they are still standing.
North Texas 59, Washington State 10 is like one of those. Oh boy, life comes at you fast if you're Wazoo. Texas 27, UTEP 10.
Is there like a congressional act or something we could get to save Wazoo?
Texas 27, UTEP 10. I only mentioned this because there was a stretch. Texas goes 5 of 16 on third down in this game. There was a stretch where I think Arch Manning threw like double-digit incompletions in a row.
There are stories about the Texas fans letting him hear it. Like there are multiple media stories about. I believe Arch was asked in the post game about hearing boos from Texas fans when the offense is struggling. And so it's like, that's and now Texas got as favorable a draw as anyone in the SEC as far as the first couple weeks of the season. Like I think Texas is
outside of Ohio State.
Yeah, outside of the but it's
in conference play.
Yeah, the way the conference. I mean, I think Texas has they've got a little bit of time to figure this out before. I know they go to the swamp, but like they've got a little bit of time to figure this out before things get really challenging, and they need that time apparently, because it has not been like just inserting Arch Manning into the starting lineup and expecting him to be a superstar from the very beginning has not been the way this goes.
Miami 49, South Florida 12. Good story, South Florida, but I think Miami has shown it is several classes better than that Florida.
As impressive as South Florida's start is, and it's a bummer that we don't get a South Florida Tulane regular season game. We could get that in the American Championship.
By the way, Tulane winning the Darien Mensa Bowl.
Tulane, and they've got Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss pretty soon there. So I mean that's a good mid major that could be crashing the party.
Speaking of which, Ole Miss 41, Arkansas 35. No Austin Simmons in this game for Ole Miss. They bring in their backup. Well, I guess Austin Simmons did play. He played one? Had a pass attempt, and it was a touchdown. Trinidad Chambliss,
that's right,
former D2 quarterback, comes in and does really, really well.
Is it Ferris?
Yes, Ferris State.
Yeah,
21 to 29 for 353 and 1. This Ole Miss offense might just be as plug and play as you can with what Lane Kiffin does. You got to feel for Travis Williams and that Arkansas defense to be like, Ole Miss wasn't at full strength and you still gave up 41 to him. That's tough go. Taylor Green made some throws and some plays there. That fumble, the wide receiver fumble, I mean, they were going in to try to win that thing. With they could have been a touchdown, an extra point away from doing it. Really tough right there at the end, but that was a all offense game in Oxford. I think I know who the first fired coach in college football might end up being this year, Dan. Old Dominion 45, Virginia Tech 26. It was 38-0 at one point, 35-0, something like that.
It is. The wheels have fallen off for a Virginia Tech team that was. I mean, it's not all that long ago. They're in Atlanta playing South Carolina, and it's a one-possession game against a top 10, top 15 team. And now South Carolina is nowhere near the top 10, top 15, and Virginia Tech is. I mean, they're
0-3 with three not good looking losses.
They're under the dirt right now.
Texas A&M 41, Notre Dame 40. Did not realize Tyler Buchner was still playing college football.
Right.
That bot snap will go down in history. But even more so, Marcel Reed
he left football and came back, right?
Yes.
Because
the lacrosse, the Alabama thing.
Tyler Buchner doesn't he have a big bowl game and then leaves Notre Dame to compete to be Alabama's quarterback? Milroe wins that job.
And he ends up going back to playing lacrosse.
Goes back to Notre Dame as a lacrosse player and then comes back to football.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't get all that.
How about that one?
Couple things here. Notre Dame's defense is not great. They are having some hard times right now with that. Marcel Reed looks much improved as a passer, and I think that's been the case for the first couple weeks. To do that against Notre Dame is great. Casey Conception is a dude. It's a game in 2 weeks where Auburn's going to have to bring their lunch pail on defense because Conception had a great game, but Mario Craver 7 for 207. Huge game away from home. Big win for Texas A&M. Saw Notre Dame, Pete Sampson, who covers Notre Dame, used to work with him at The Athletic. There was talk before after the game that, and I mean, they scored 40 points in this one, but there was talk after the game that C.J. Carr was tipping the plays depending on where his feet were, whether it was going to be a handoff or a throw, and he went back and checked, and sure enough, that's what was happening.
Wow.
Obviously, they still scored 40, but there's some issues going on in Notre Dame for sure. LSU 20, Florida 10. I mean, Florida had 23 first downs and 10 points. LSU had 10 first downs and won this game. 5 interceptions by DJ Lagway is brutal. I mean, and I think I didn't see all 5 picks, but I saw several of them, and they were like, brother, where are we going with this ball? LSU's defense is awesome. Florida is a mess on offense, like just very disjointed. LSU's got to find some answers on offense to be a super good contender. They're only 4-14 on third down in this game.
Second time, and maybe the third time this year, where if the only thing you gave me was the number of points LSU scored, I'd have thought, did they win?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you told me,
not only they won, they doubled up.
Yeah, if you told me, hey, LSU's going to finish with 17 on the dot, the way LSU's defense had played, like they're going to finish with 17 on the dot at Clemson. It's like, oh, they're not going to win. They're not going to win that game with 17. Well, they win, and it felt like
LSU's got and LSU's had some awesome defenses in the past, but they got some like I said it with Florida in the past. They got some Real Madrid to them, where it's just like, yeah, we need you to score, and look, they're going to have to as well, but they're getting good wins. But boy, man, like, got just not much on offense.
LSU's got some time to figure it out too, though. I mean, they've got the Lions, the Southeasterns coming in next week, and they've got
a quick trip from Hammond,
and then they go to Oxford at the end of the month.
They're gonna have to figure it out in that one.
Yeah.
That's Magnolia Bowl could get real crazy in a hurry. But yeah, that LSU defense looks like it's for real. Now, it didn't have weeks for most of the game and played really, really well. All right.
Yeah, I don't know I mean, Florida, it's
not getting easier for me. They got Miami this week. Yeah, and Miami's looking good.
Yeah, and I don't. And the other thing is, when the offense is a or the problem, Napier's got nowhere to point the finger.
Nope.
Like this is. I mean, this is a like kind of like with Hugh Freeze.
Correct.
You know, if the offense were a glaring problem through a couple of weeks, and look, and Hugh Freeze assumes ownership of the whole thing. But his side of the ball, you know, is I think there's an expectation with Napier.
It's like, what are you paying him for?
And with Billy Napier, if the offense is where he, you know, where he makes, you know, where he has his imprint on the team, and that's the offense. I mean, you were held a team that Miami just deep fried held you to under 20 points in the swamp last week, and now you've scored 10. And that, like you said, it was ugly. You know, that the 10. You know, so it's I think that's a. I could see
getting like really backbreaking penalties.
That feels like it could boil over. Maybe he's got another Houdini act in him. Maybe they'll get queasy about the buyout. I don't think so. Like I think this thing could
progressively trending in the wrong direction.
Yep,
for sure. LSU folks I know were making the Brian Kelly Les Miles comparisons of just being like, we have all this talent and we can't put anything up on offense and we're playing this way. It's like it's bad. It's frustrating. It is definitely frustrating for that fan base. But they might be the number 1, number 2, looking team in the SEC right now. It's crazy stuff. But that's college football, baby. Week 3 in the books. We will be back later this week to preview Auburn at Oklahoma, SEC opener, the Jackson Arnold homecoming. Like we said, I think the big takeaway from that is that there's a lot of teams that got problems and aren't firing on all cylinders. Auburn has had their highs and their not so highs from the first 3 weeks of the season, but I think we're all in agreement that they've got to play better than they did yesterday if they want to head into the second half of the season with any momentum. And but that's why they play. That's why they play the games on Saturdays, and that's why we just keep talking and writing about them. So that'll do it.
I think we talked about a potential 4 in the press box yesterday.
I don't have a 4 on.
No,
this,
I've given my thought to 4 that I can answer.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this was something we'll finish with this. Dan's going to give you in our nonsense segment. He's going to give you his observe 4 of covers that are better than the original song, in his opinion. And the one that, there was only one that stood out to me, and this is where it triggered it. I've listened to all because I was the emo metalcore kid growing up and still am to a degree. All the Punk Goes cover albums.
Justin's about to say Smooth Criminal by Alien Ant Farm.
But there are some good ones on there. There's some really good covers. And Boys
of Summer? That's the one I always assume you're getting because the Ataris.
The Ataris. That's a good one.
Which is a good one. I understand if people would say that the Don Henley is better, but I mean it's
the one that got me on this though is that one of the later ones they did was a cover on one of those albums was Somebody That I Used to Know by Goche. I heard the original song the other day just randomly, and I was like, "Dang, this song! I like the cover a lot better." And it's Mayday Parade. And does a really, really good cover of that song. And it feels like that it's very different, but like that was the one that triggered me. And so I asked you for ones. I don't have a 4, but I got some ones that I really, really like.
In the last day or so, I've given it a little bit of thought. The honorable mention would be like I couldn't pick one from the Johnny Cash, Rick Rubin project. A lot of people would probably pick "Hurt," the Nine Inch Nails song. Personal Jesus, the Depeche Mode cover. Is really good. So I mean, there's I
do like that one probably more than the Depeche Mode.
So there's some really cool Johnny Cash covers on that album. Hurt, again, Hurt's probably the most famous one. But I will say, love Bob Dylan, but I think All Along the Watchtower is a Jimi Hendrix song now, and it's just and even I think Dylan has been quoted saying that he really appreciates Hendrix's arrangement and rendition of that. So I would pick All Around the Watchtower as an early one. I was just listening to the Nirvana Unplugged album the other day, and Nirvana's cover of, again, love David Bowie, adore David Bowie. Nirvana's cover of The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie from the Unplugged album is outstanding. And that's a great album anyway, but I think maybe and Where Did You Sleep Last Night is a cool song too, but I think my favorite of the sort of unusual things Nirvana does on that one is the Bowie cover. So I would pick Man Who Sold the World. I told you my almost feel guilty about it because I again love The Cure, but the 311 version of Love Song, which I believe is from the 50 First Dates soundtrack, because I think 50
very much a relic of its time.
Yeah, I believe the 50 First Dates soundtrack featured like pop rock bands of the early 2000s covering 80s songs. Okay. I think that's the sort of the hook. And 311 does a cover of Love Song, and it's really great. So I'm gonna, and then the fourth one, and this one, like it's I guess I'll love Prince, but Sinead O'Connor's cover of Nothing Compares to You is just a magnificent piece of work, and I would say maybe even an improvement over Prince's original.
That's a good list. Dan, I will leave you this. I said mere moments ago, I think I know who the first coach who's going to be fired in college football is, and it was going to be Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. As we were recording this, Brent Pry has been fired at Virginia Tech. Additionally, one of Dan's alma maters, UCLA, has already fired Deshaun Foster.
Oh,
getting smoked by New Mexico is not good. So Dan, as a native son of Westwood, can you confirm or deny the reports that they are looking at you to be the next head coach at UCLA?
I'll tell you what, in honor of Deshaun Foster, you should look up his run against the Eagles in the playoffs in like 2003 for the Carolina Panthers. But it's, we were talking about some of the other guys coaching their alma maters, and it's a shame that he's not coaching his anymore.
But you might be.
I might be. We'll see.